guys through pistols or single leg squat. So in this movement, we're gonna be working on strength, balance, and coordination. It's a pretty simple movement, but it's quite hard to execute, which is why I'm gonna go through progressions to help you to get your first pistol or get more efficient. I like starting out with just doing a simple air squat. Air squat, we're usually about shoulder width apart. Here, I'm just warming up my knees and I'm warming up my hips in range. Then, because we're gonna be doing a pistol, I'm gonna take my feet in narrower, continue doing that same squat in this position, take my feet in even more until my feet are almost completely underneath me, because that's where we're gonna be when we do the single leg squat. So from right underneath me, I'm gonna do the same thing, go through the squat motion. Here in the beginning, I'm thinking about being pretty upright. Then I can play around with loading my hips a little bit more, pushing the hips back, and going through a good motion. Once you've done these, you can actually practice just like tilting your toe down and going through the squat, just tilting. So now your weight is gonna be more dominant on the left and the right leg. So now we're just warming up the movement. All right, now we're gonna move over to a box. You can choose the height of the box. We're still warming up the pistol. We're gonna do a step up onto the box, but now not standing behind, we're gonna stand by the side of the box so that we're gonna be able to press up straight from here. I'm gonna have my leg in the beginning in about a 90-degree angle. Now I'm just gonna stand up, try to stay as tall as I can, and you can use the other leg to help you stand up if you don't have quite the strength yet, just to stand up by yourself. Otherwise, this is a great time to practice trying to just use the leg that's on the box as much as possible, warming up the quad and the hips. Once you got this down, we're gonna move on to a little bit higher box. We're gonna do exactly the same thing. Now you're just gonna notice that my hips are gonna starting in an even deeper angle. When we do the pistol, the hips are gonna be almost all the way down. So I'm almost in my pistol depth at this point. I'm gonna do the exact same thing. I can use my other leg to help me stand up. Now I'm gonna focus on making sure that I'm loading my hips as well. So I'm gonna reach over the leg. So if my left leg in the front, I'm gonna use my arms to reach over that left leg to make sure that the knee isn't collapsing. So I'm gonna reach over and stand up. Now we're also gonna think about, this is not a loaded movement, this is a body weight only. So we don't have to think about being as upright as when we do a squat. When we load up a squat, we can let our hips go up to use butt and quads and hamstrings more, so it's not only quad dominant. What I mean by that is, I'm gonna do the same thing, but now I'm gonna shoot my hips up and then stand. And when I go down, I'm gonna think about the same thing. I'm gonna load my hips and sit down into that squat. That's gonna be a more efficient way, especially if your quads are maybe your weaker point, then you're gonna be able to use more muscles to help you go through that movement. So again, thinking nose to toes, hips, stand, hips, and down. Then if you want to, you can make the box even higher. Then you're starting the squat from an even deeper position, which is most likely what your pistol is going to be. And if you feel like what you're lacking in the pistol is more the strength, then a really good way to strengthen the movement is focusing a little bit more on the eccentric part of the movement. What I mean by the eccentric part is, you do the same thing, you can use the leg to help you get up, but then focusing on when you're going down, just going down a little bit more slower, controlling the movement as much as you can to the bottom. Now we're gonna move on to the floor again. I'm gonna do a rolling pistol. In the beginning, you can start with just using both feet. Rolling pistol, I'm gonna go into the squat. I'm gonna roll down. Now I'm gonna use my legs and my hips to get myself up and stand up. Then I'm gonna change the movement into doing a rolling pistol onto one leg. The first progression here is gonna be going up and just getting those hips from the bottom. So I'm rolling, getting those hips up. Next progression is trying to load up the hips a little bit more. Loading and down. You obviously want to do this on both legs. Last one is going to be the full pistol. When you go down, you can have both legs on the way down. And finish with the full pistol. When we're going through the rolling pistol, we're going to keep in mind the things that we thought about when we were on the box. So it's going to be more quad dominant if you try to think about standing straight up. But we want to become more efficient and be able to use the butt, the glutes, and the hamstring when we're standing up. So in the beginning, when you're going through this, you go down. I'm going to load over, reaching, hips up, and stand up. So the same pointers as we had when we were doing the step up on the box. Reaching over the leg that we're standing up on to make sure that's going to be easier than to load up the glutes and making sure that the knee is tracking a little bit better. And then we're taking a lot of our body weight away from the squat by letting our hips go up first, thinking nose to toes, and then we stand up and finish the movement. Now we're going to move over to the full movement, but we're going to do it assisted. So I have a resistant band on a squat rack. You can choose how much assistance you want. We're gonna put this underneath our butt, and we're gonna try to think about doing the same thing as we've been going through, and we're gonna be loading one side to the other. I'm gonna sit down, pushing my hips back. Now this is gonna help me in my way on standing up, where I can push my hips and stand up. Making sure that we change legs, going through the full movement, nice and controlled. Once you feel comfortable, you can change the resistant band out, going onto less and less help when you do the movement. Once you feel comfortable with this, you step away from the resistant band and you're gonna try to go through the full movement. What I like doing when I'm doing the pistols is loading, taking the step and loading hip through hip. So I'm gonna step into the pistol, stepping, do my squat, step, do the full movement. If you have a hard time balancing the movement, then it actually can be beneficial to do it a little bit weighted. So having just a little bit of weight in the front that's gonna help you when you're standing up. So you're gonna do the same thing, step into the pistol, do the squat. Now the weight is gonna help me doing a little bit more balanced pistol movement. Pro tip. All right, when we're doing the pistols or any movement, you always want to figure out where you're going to be able to breathe, where you're going to be able to get that like relaxed moment. For me, that's going to be on the top when I'm transitioning to the next one. Just have it nice and calm and then going into the next pistol. Another thing you want to think about, you want to try to have your whole foot on the ground. So since you don't have 2 feet on the ground, make sure that at least the 1 foot that's on the ground is all on the ground. That might mean that you want to have a heel raise or even wear an Olympic weightlifting shoe. You might have ankle issues or whatever that might be, just making sure you have the whole foot there. Another thing, when we're doing the pistol, you want to think about keeping the center of mass as centered as possible. So since you're on one leg, you might want to shift your weight and lean over a little bit more over the leg that you're going on, if that makes sense. So if I'm going on my left leg, I'm gonna be leaning more towards the left. If I'm going on the right, I'll be leaning more with my hips and my body towards the right. Another thing which I've been talking about is letting the chest drop, pushing those hips up and stand. It kind of depends on what your strength or what your weak point is. When you do that, for me, it allows me to breathe a little bit better because it's almost like putting your chest down a little bit more throughout the movement. And my hamstring is a little bit more stronger than maybe my quads are. So figure out what your strength and weakness lies. Find a steady pace that you can keep, breathe and maintain instead of trying to rush the movement. Keep it balanced. One more thing, because everyone thinks about this that are doing pistols, or I feel like everyone talks about this that are doing the pistols. It's not bad for your knees to get the bounce on the bottom as long as you're getting the bounce from your muscles. You don't want to be getting it from your ligaments, you want to be getting it from your muscles. So you want to stay in the tension and you want to make sure that you're loading the movement correctly throughout the whole movement. For me, I do like wearing knee sleeves just because it helps me. I don't need to go as deep into the movement before I get that bounce in. If you're gonna wear knee sleeves, this is my tip to you. Make sure that you wear knee sleeves where your kneecap can actually move. You don't wanna have them that tight that it's gonna get your kneecap stuck, because then your knees are gonna be very achy and sore the day after.